3 nights a week, right, 3 out of 5. Anyway.
All right, and then the last thing is, Dan Merceniak, I apologize for not getting to you, but I'm working on a rating system to choose among the 3 estimates we got to make our fire alarm system reporting to a fire district. And that'll definitely be done this coming week. So for our next meeting, we should be able to.
Choose our.
Yeah, I think so.
So, I have to ask you, was Wolf one of our people that they put in a bid in for this?
Yes.
Made charges for a bid?
Yeah. And, but you know,
I'm not
what he
gonna,
said,
I'm not gonna vote against him, but are you kidding me?
what he said, it was kind of one of these incentive deals, you know, we'll just knock it off the price of, well, whatever, so.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, I looked at that and I'm saying, but he told me that up front. And I have personal experience with Wolf, and I know them to be very reputable and dependable. And so I said, well, maybe that's what the other guys didn't charge. So I agree that that's a strike against that.
And he's not the pretty sweet pot, I think. All right, so we figure we'll have a presentable, the 3 or 4 bids for 814.
For next fall, definitely.
Okay.
And that's it.
All right, thank you, Joe. Captain.
As far as working on the personnel policy, we haven't done too much with it yet because I'm trying to get caught up on speed on the town hall and trooper barracks, so I've been working on a solar project with Joe, so I haven't done much with that yet. There's one thing I'm looking into is changing these thermostats and put them on 3 separate ones that can be operated off the walls as opposed to the smart system. I do have someone coming in to on Friday to give me an estimate on or showing me how to do it. And I think that I'll have a recommendation for you at the next time board meeting. Although it's working very well now.
Looking nice in here. But again, down the hall where all the brain power is, it's
Well, they
stepping
cut
down
that
now
out.
with anything.
You don't want you to
Too more work, the wattage.
Just come work in here.
Yeah. Just a moment.
minor adjustment.
So I'd like to, I know Michelle has done some preliminary work. I don't know how much. I know it's summertime. So, I mean, I'd like to at least kick off some kind of initial discussion in the summer. I'd like to maybe hit it a little heavier in the September timeframe. I'm sensitive to people's vacation. Not that sensitive, but fairly sensitive. All right, and anything else? All right, for myself, actually, we're Mary Sue. Not yet, I'm kind of working this way. I didn't want to take Mary Sue's thunder from the movie night. I don't know if you want to talk about it real quick. You want me to talk about it?
We can talk about it.
So, as you know, we were working with the county, Wendy Volker and Judy D'Agostino, to have a family movie night here. We passed the resolution last week to have it on August 6th and the rain date of August 7th. So we, myself, I kind of invited myself into working with the civic committee, a couple of new people. So we're working with, again, the civic committee. So I reached out to Debbie Falcone first at Shalimont at the Booster Club, and then I got a couple more names of the Athletic Booster Club. I sent them an email, Mary, so I copied you on it, but I haven't heard back from them. I walked over to, or drove over and walked over to Charlotte to talk about the parking there. And I need to give Mr. Larry Lewandowski a call to firm that up for the overflow parking. I talked to Renee in Waynesburg, so she's okay with the posters, I think we just gotta figure out the final number, and Renee will put a couple up in the rec center down there. I talked to both Potterkill and Pine Grove. They'll both have fire trucks here that night for the kids, so we'll just kind of figure out, I'm assuming Parkman Circle, but I don't know, I guess we'll kind of figure that out as we go along. So the kids can play in the fire trucks or whatever. Did you get a chance to talk to Wendy about traffic control with the sheriffs?
I sent her an email and asked her about the traffic control with the sheriffs providing, mostly for the end, when everybody's pretty much going to be leaving at the same time. But I think in the beginning, when people are coming in dribs and drabs, I don't think there was going to be too much. But there's still going to be the sheriffs here because they're having the Operation Safe Child
Yeah.
booth here. And I also asked Wendy about getting a copy of the posters so we could print off some and distribute them around the towns.
Right.
I talked to the state police barracks to get permission to use their driveway so Radio Disney can come use our driveway in the back to set up what they need to set up for the movie. And I have to call back and talk to Sergeant Shager later in this week. But he said, the person I talked to said it shouldn't be a problem at all, as long as they know what's going on.
Okay, right.
So,
We may want to think about, when we talk to Wendy about traffic coming in, so
Okay.
the fire department said, yeah, they'll help, but the first notice is the sheriff's, you know, so
Okay.
we'll go with them. I forgot to ask West Blessing, but Potterkill will be okay, they think it's okay, they're 90% sure we can put a sign up on their sign saying family night. So I still got to call Shalmont and back to call Pine Grove. All right, so that takes care of that. Joe, we talked about, just so everybody, hope everybody can make it, next Tuesday night, right? Oh, Mr. Bob Freeman will be coming, he's the chairperson, Cal? The chair or?
Executive director.
Executive Director of Committee for Open Government, so I was thinking, Carol, what your thoughts about maybe sodas and cookies or something? Would that be inappropriate or inappropriate?
No. That's fine.
Mm. So I encourage everybody to come to these, we heard him speak at the Association of Towns training. He's a pretty good speaker, you know, he knows the government and, you know, he is the man about open government, so it should be a pretty good event. See if I can put this on. Did you have it already?
It's already in
There's a couple of items I want to kind of put them towards the end because we are on there, but it's really more about the unified communication system, but I think that's all I had for most of the month. Seems like more, but. All right, that's it for me. Mr. Edwards?
What is the date of this presentation?
A week from tonight, 17th?
17.
Yep.
7 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
And for the family movie night, do we know who the vendor is for the actual movie?
Radio Disney.
Radio Disney? They come put up like a huge blow-up type screen thing and do a projection thing?
Yep, they'll be setting up a tent back here with their audio and visual equipment in it, and I'm not quite sure where they're going to be setting up the screen, but they'll check out the place and determine what's the best place for it.
Apparently they've done it before, Todd. I don't know where.
County's been using them for 7 years, Wendy said.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, it's fine reaching out to Western Schenectady County here. But,
Yeah, I'm familiar with a business that does that same thing. I just didn't know. They're the only ones I've ever heard of in the area, and I'm surprised they were the only one. So, I wasn't familiar with Radio I think the last meeting I attended, one of the items was doing some type of report on the computer security breach, which I see is on the agenda again today is for a vote to have Omnis do some type of report. I know that I had mentioned maybe having some additionally or in conjunction with some type of independent review done. I didn't know if that was something we were interested in entertaining on top of the Omnis report. I do know of someone that might be a good candidate to do that that has recently become available that might be cost effective for us if that was something we were interested in. It could be an opportunity.
I think the answer would be yes. The reason I put it back, or we put it back on the agenda was really wanted to hear what they had to say.
Probably can't hurt to have them do a report too.
Right, and then follow up afterwards, if you're not satisfied with the answers.
But if you're interested in having someone do something concurrent or whatever, I think we could maybe an opportunity for this legal gentleman, he's extremely highly qualified and recently become available, so if you'd like to have a conversation with him, that probably brings that.
Sure. All right, let's go for it.
And then I have some questions on the unified communications piece, but I see it's on the agenda for discussion, so I can hold that until that time.
All right. All right, so that closes the old business. So I wanted everybody patient, or have some patience. Again, I rearranged the meeting here. So before I go to comment, we do.
I just had something with justice. I know that
Oh, I'm
I'm on
sorry.
the agenda, but I
You
know I
were.
usually don't have anything to say. I did
apologies.
submit, that's okay. I just wanted the town board to know that the Justice Court Assistance Program is again offering a grant to the courts up to $30,000 for anything relative to court operations or making the courtroom state-of-the-art, if you will. Not to say that I think we've got pretty much a good state-of-the-art courtroom anyways, but my thought was, I've had a couple residents who've asked me, and I think that Carol may even have residents as well as the assessor's office, who have concerns about our door not being or not having a operational handicap push-button opening. And I thought that that might be a good way to use the grant if we can utilize the money. So what I've asked is, Carol apparently knows of some information from when we built the town hall about that particular operation. And in the next few months, by October, we would need to get all of the information together to present to OCA, as well as a resolution to be passed by the town board. So just kind of like an FYI for the town board to know that there is $30,000 available to the court. And we have had grants in the past, 2 grants in the past, to upgrade our security, our doors, our windows, and we were repaid the building of the bench to some extent. So just to let you know that it's out there, and I think that we should apply. And actually, Gino helped me on the grant a couple years ago when we got it, the last one. We've had 2 grants in the past. So if it's out there, I think we should use it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Who applies for it?
The court applies for it, it's signed by the court, it's signed by the supervisor. A resolution needs to go along with it, and it's submitted online through the court.
So you'll be initiating that first part?
Yes,
Okay.
yep, I'll get all the information together, give a copy of it to Mike. He can give it to the town board, and you can put it on an agenda hopefully before October.
Perfect. Beautiful.
And actually, so as long as you have the floor, Michelle, on that security breach report,
I've talked to one person, and I don't know, I haven't solicited their help yet. If I do that, I would definitely inform the town board that I was looking to. It's someone who used to work for Omnis that has done work for me on a personal basis in the past. He works for the city of Gloversville, and he's their IT person, so I thought he might be a good candidate, but I haven't gotten one step further with that yet. Just a conversation that if he's available to work on that.
we're going to pay him miles, do we?
No. I'll keep you informed if that's the case.
Okay,
Thanks.
sorry for.
No, that's all right. I usually don't have anything.
So before we go to public comment, we did ask, as, you know, Lou and Joe have been working on solar power for the town hall, some of the facilities. So we have a new team that's going to present to us. It's a New York Light.
Light Energy.
All right. I got it back. I got Energy and Light. So folks, these guys are going to present, introduce themselves. Please ask as many questions as you possibly can. I know I'll have a bunch. I'd like to, I hate to say restricted, but maybe we take a half hour.
I can go 5 minutes, I can go an hour, my son will tell you I can go all night, so you tell me, and then, I know one thing, I won't go as long as a little.
All right, fire away, my friend. Have a step right up.
Is that right, where you want us over here,
Actually, Amy, what do you think? Would this table be better for you?
For where I'm set up, yeah.
or just let me first hand this stuff out?
Thanks, Andrew. Good job. Yep. Of course, yeah. We have to wear handcuffs instead.
That's a good idea.
Thank you.
Sitting, standing,
Whichever works for you.
first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Alex Lee. I'm one of the founders of New York Light Energy. This is my son, Chance Lee. He was the gentleman that originally designed the systems that we're currently installing. We primarily folks like IBM, Siemens, some of the large global multinationals, GE, high-tech stuff. And in that environment, my last position was actually selling the raw wafers, the silicon that you make computer chips out of. And as I was doing that, I ran the Eastern Seaboard for a company called Mitsubishi Silicon, and we started getting these calls from these companies trying to buy our scrap wafer. We couldn't quite understand what that was all about. We're very used to selling to the Intels and those guys. And what was happening is they were saying, wait a minute, we don't need real high quality silicon, we need entry level silicon or scrap silicon. Because we're really concerned with the elemental properties of the silicon, not so much the structure, the flatness or cleanliness or some of the things that a microprocessor guy might be aware of.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second? Can everybody hear? Okay? It would be better if we turn the table so you just kind of speak to all of us. Are you guys okay with this?
So,
I just want to make sure so you're talking to all of them.
yeah. So basically I was getting calls from folks that were interested, or companies that were interested in buying the scrap silicon, and I needed to understand why, because it became a sizable part of my business. And what I started doing back in 2002 was beginning to understand and appreciate the needs and requirements of the solar industry. What we did then was we decided that another startup was in the making for New York, for me. And we did a very comprehensive study on the market, how we could improve either the solar technology itself or some of the components that were part of it. And the conclusion we reached was, you know what, there just really isn't a lot you can do to improve the raw technology of solar. I mean, when you deal with the silicon, it's an element. An element is going to behave in a very specific way. And it's not going to, no matter what a human being does, it's not going to really change it. If you make a microprocessor, you can say, all right, I've got a square inch of material. Today I'm going to put 1,000 things in there, and next year I'm going to put 1,000,000 in there, and the year after that I'm going to put 10 million in there. Silicon just doesn't behave like that. It's an element. It's like gold. You plant it in the ground in 2,000 years, it'll still be gold. So with silicon, same thing. So we started looking at it, and the conclusion we reached was there just wasn't a lot of sort of new technological development that was really out there on the solar horizon in the short term or even in the long term. It's a very stable technology. Doesn't change a lot. You know, electronics, power electronics don't change a lot. If you guys ever saw a square D connector on the side of a building that was put up 20 years ago, it looks almost identical to the square D connector put up today. So it's a very, very stable technology. So what we had to do is we had to figure out a different way to bring a product to market. And the question then became, well, what is the hole? Where's the bottleneck that stops people from implementing solar? And the answer became very quickly cost. It's really expensive to try and install solar. So what we did was we backed up and said, all right, let's take a look around the market, around the US, and understand how people are solving this problem. In different states, they have different solutions. But what we did discover was that in California and New Jersey, they had this concept of a power purchase agreement, which meant effectively that somebody would come through and put up a solar array at their cost. They would take advantage of the subsidies, both state and federal subsidies, and any other benefits each individual state might have to put the system up and simply sell the power to whoever was in the building that they had put the system up on. So we said, all right, in California that was done in a very, very large scale environment in the scales of megawatts, which is just huge amounts of power to be generated. And we said, well, wait, if we take a look at the programs offered by New York State and the federal government, maybe we can leverage that to smaller system sizes in New York State. And one of the reasons for doing that was NYSERDA limited the system size we could put up. So we're always limited in the state to something called 50 kilowatts, and we'll talk about that, what that means in a little bit. But by leveraging both the state and the federal subsidies, we were able to put up a system and then sell the power that that system had produced to a building owner. And that would then enable us to own the system and, more importantly, operate it and maintain it, leaving no responsibility to the building owner, or in this case, the township, at all. Basically, it's our responsibility to do all the work on the system. The only thing that we decided we needed to ask for from whomever we're selling to was we need an internet access so we can remotely monitor the system. That is something we cannot do. Time Warner or whomever will not allow us to put our own internet connection into this building because it's not our building. However, we don't require a unique internet connection. If you already have internet, we simply plug into the router. And we do it in such a way that it's segmented that we don't impact any of the other networks or any of the other files that you've got going around. We put our own firewall up so we don't have any security breaches, which I heard mentioned earlier. But we can definitely work with your IT folks on that to make sure that isn't a concern. Having said that, we then did some math, and the math basically works out to we can put up a system. We cover somewhere around 90% of our cost, taking advantage of both the state and federal subsidies. And then we need to sell the power. And what we determined was over 20 years, we're able to not only make back the initial investment, but also make a good living for us. We're not getting rich off of any particular system. What we're doing is we're charging a little bit here, a little bit there, and over time and installing multiple systems, we start having a good revenue stream that will take care of me in my retirement while he's working to keep it going. So having said all that, one of the things we then needed to do was we needed to make sure that our system operated for 20 years. So we took a very, well, what I think is a reasonably unique approach in this day and age is we said, we're not particularly concerned about the cost of the components, we're concerned about the cost of ownership of that component over 20 years. So we have a very, very stringent set of criteria that we use to select a vendor. For example, we chose the Kyocera solar panel. The Kyocera solar panel is manufactured in Japan, Mexico, and San Diego. But it has a unique characteristic that most of the solar panel manufacturers don't have, and that is it has a warranty. A lot of guys have warranties, but it's actually been in business and producing power for longer than the warranty period. The warranty period on the Kyocera panel is 20 years, and they've had a system up and operating since 1984 in Sapporo, Japan, with the same cell technology. So what I now know is I can predict what my output is going to be in 20 years. As a result, when we design the system now, we design it with that predictable output, and we make adjustments. For example, if we tell you we're going to put up a 50 kilowatt system or a 30 kilowatt system to meet your objectives, we always put up 10% more power. So if we put up a 30 kilowatt system, we're actually installing 33 kilowatts. If we put up 50, we're actually installing 55. The reason we do this is because when it's all said and done, there are a lot of variables, a lot of things that can happen, and we want to enter into a contract with you folks that say, we're going to deliver this much power per year, over 20 years. So we have to ensure that we can do that. There are other things that we do with wire sizing, the way we mount our panels, a lot of the things that folks tend to take for granted, we take to the next step. For example, if you have a wire that is, say, a 10 gauge wire, we will always increase it by at least 2 sizes to something that makes more sense for that application. The result of that is we have less line loss than any other system in the state. In the state,